Hello and welcome to another episode of Heywood and Stuff. If you've been here before, you know I love you, and if you're new here, I'm about to. Today I'm going to be talking about things that I will not be saying to my children that were said to me. Just a little disclaimer. This video is not intended to insult, humiliate, annoy, frustrate, trigger, upset, or disturb anyone out there. If any of those things do happen to you while you watch the video, this is probably an invitation to yourself to have a look at why it bothers you so much. It's possible that it's something you need to work on. I am merely saying what I won't be doing with my child. This one's gonna be fun. This one's gonna be fun. Because, people. Right, let's do this. Number one, the first thing that I won't be saying to my child that I heard when I was a child is, because I said so. Do you remember when you were a kid and you weren't allowed to have something or you weren't allowed to do something and you genuinely wanted to know why and you asked, but why? And then you would get the response, because I said so. This gives nothing. There is no respect there, and that is very much an authoritarian way of looking at things. I am the parent, and because I said so, that is God. That is to take that as the rule. You wouldn't do this to a fellow friend or a work colleague or someone that you respected. It wouldn't go down very well. It would come across as if you're a bit of a twat. So why do it to your children? Just saying. It's not something I will do. This is one that is, it kind of gets me. It kind of gets me. I remember often hearing the phrase, because this is my house. For example, if I was to slam a door and then I would get told off. And then it would be like, why? Because this is my house. I appreciate what the person may be saying, but I won't be repeating that because the house that I provide to raise my child is indeed our home, and it is our house. There is no, this is my house, and therefore you have to go by my rules. Bullshit. We're all in it together. I don't own my child. My child is equally a part of my home. Number three, you'll understand when you're older. This is an infuriating thing to hear because as a child, it's massively unfair. You can't relate to what the adult is saying. You have no idea what they're on about. And again, it's just a kind of a hand to the face because I said so kind of remark. You'll understand when you're older gives no empathy, no insight for the child, and so you just kind of leave a child feeling a little bit belittled and not having their feelings respected. It's not something that I will be repeating to my children. Number four, one thing that I will never be saying to my children is just one more bite of your dinner and then you can have pudding. No pudding until you finish your dinner. I personally believe this is the fastest kind of way to give your child an unhealthy relationship with food. We need to trust our children that they will eat when they're hungry. It's not in the child's interest not to eat. A lot of the children's unhealthy relationships with food will come down to the pressures and the force that is put upon them to eat. Also, using bribery tactics to get them to finish their food. They're not stupid. They will pick it up and they will model it and they will grow up to do the same thing. And as you may or may not know, being bribed is a fucking horrible feeling. In fact, we don't even do pudding after dinner. We will generally have pudding with dinner, put it on the same plate so that it is part of the full meal. Sweets, treats, they're not a special thing. They're just something that we have a bit less of. It's the parent's responsibility to put the right foods on the plate for the child and allow them to take their time to eat it. We've noticed that one day our child might not eat the greens on her plate, but then another week she will. She's eaten lots of foods that now she says she doesn't like and doesn't want to eat, and that's perfectly fine. She doesn't have to. The correct approach, we feel, is to make sure that there's a variety of foods that she needs to eat, and always food that we know she will enjoy, or up until then we think she will enjoy. We will never place something that looks very foreign and different to her and expect her to eat it, and we will never just leave that in front of her to eat without an option. without an alternative option. Every mealtime has to be a positive experience. And if one day she's feeling like she doesn't want to eat what she's been eating every other day for the past year, then she doesn't eat it. And that's that. We trust her to make her own judgment. We're not going to put a plate full of chocolate on her plate because that would be ridiculous and unnecessary. Number 5. This is a tricky one. I will not be telling my children to say thank you, say please, be polite, be grateful, say you're sorry, don't be rude. I won't be doing any of it. I will never tell my children to say thank you when someone has given them something. I will never tell my children to apologize for bumping someone over. Why? Because I want my child to be her authentic self. I want them to understand the meaning of thank you, understand the meaning of I'm sorry, understand the meaning of please, and the context that it belongs to. If the first time my child were to say these things because I told them to, they're not being their authentic self. They are fulfilling a command that I asked them to do. They are thereby trying to please me, and it's not coming from them. So how do you create a polite child? Well, first of all, we're not trying to create anything. We're just trying to raise our children to be their authentic, true selves. But if you are concerned that your child isn't going to be as polite as you may be, do not worry. If you are a human being that says thank you when your child gives you something, if you are a human being that asks politely from your child for something, and if you apologize to your child when indeed an apology is needed, they will pick it up very quickly. And it is the most beautiful little thing to see when they say, "Can I have that, please?" and "Thank you." And you know what? Some days they won't say it, some days they will. But when it comes naturally to them, it's authentic, it's true, and it's more likely to stick because they understand the value of the words. The trick to this is to not concentrate on how they are behaving, but to concentrate on how we are behaving. It is us, by the way that we act, the way that we react. They will look up to us and absorb it. If you say, "Please, thank you, I'm sorry," they will pick up, "Please, thank you, I'm sorry." And if you say it genuinely, authentically, so will they. Number 6, I can't remember. Another tricky one, not very popular in the parent world. I will not be saying to my children, "Well done, good job, good boy, good girl. Congratulations, you did so well. Look how well you did." Our children are not pets. Now I know, as parents, we want to let them know that we're proud of them. As parents, we want to let them know that they've done a good job when they've done a good job. But the thing is, for them, this isn't what they need. They do not need our approval. They do not need us, sadly, to be proud of them. What they do need is encouragement and acknowledgement and unconditional love. But that doesn't come in the form of good boy, good girl, good job. If they have drawn something that is spectacular, then a compliment can simply be noticing how vibrant the colors are, noticing how dynamic the curves are. Wow, you really went for it on this one. This is a tricky one, I must admit, but it's a great one because I don't want to get in the trap of praising my child every time she does something good, because I don't want her to start doing things for my approval. I don't want her to draw something epic because she knows daddy's going to be proud of me. That's bullshit, because what does that do? That only promotes a child turning into an adult that's always seeking approval from others. What we want is for them to have validation and approval of themselves, make them feel proud about it, make them feel good about it for themselves, which they will naturally when they complete something, when they finish something. It's difficult, and I do catch myself having to not fall into the role of congratulating on doing something. And I'll be honest, it's a work in progress, but I really do make sure I never do the good girl or good job. I try and find more creative ways of acknowledging what they've done. It doesn't have to be a compliment, but they can feel good if they can see that I can see what they've done. It's a tricky one. Ultimately, our approval is not needed for our children to grow self-worth and self-esteem, self-belief that they can do things. We want to avoid them doing things for us. We want them to do it for themselves, right? You don't have to look around much to find people pleasers. We all do it. We are all so obsessed with making sure people like us and that they're happy with what we've done. And we generally all try to please others. Where the fuck do you think this comes from? This is not a natural human instinct. This is something that we have been taught as children. This is the good boys, well done's, you did such a good job on that. It's all that bullshit that we don't need. We don't need the praise to know that we've done a good job. It shouldn't be external. It should always come from within. Hippy dippy dollocks. Kiss my buttocks. Another thing that I will not be saying to my children that I heard as a child is, I'm giving you to the count of 5 to go to your room. On the surface, this can look quite playful. Often people will count to 4 and then they'll go to 4.5. But it instills fear into the child, and it is this tactic that makes them quickly run to their bedroom. You'll often hear children laughing and screaming as they run to their bedroom, but that laughter should not be confused with happiness. That laughter is fear. And instilling fear into your child, it really fucks up the whole dynamic between parent and child. Since when was threatening a good way of getting someone to do something for you? It's not healthy for either person. It's a clear sign of a breakdown in communication when one person is threatening another. And if you were to do this in an adult scenario, it would be classed as bullying. And that's frowned upon. Yeah. So to do that with our children, it's detrimental. And also it will become a sure tactic that they use when they get older. And it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not needed. Another thing that I will not be saying to my children, which I often heard as a child, is, you're fine, don't worry, stop crying, you're over-exaggerating, it's not that bad. What might not seem so bad to you as an adult, what might seem like a trivial reason to be upset, to them might be genuinely heartbreaking. Don't forget, our children are little, they've had less experiences, and so if Timmy loses his teddy bear in the playground, those are genuine tears of sadness. If we suppress those feelings, what are we teaching Timmy? We're teaching Timmy that his feelings are not valid, and that the best thing to do when you're upset is just to suppress those feelings of sad, regardless of how bad you feel. It is very difficult for children to grow into emotional, mature adults if we do not acknowledge their feelings. And feelings is a huge spectrum. Feelings of happy is generally accepted, but feelings of sad and angry is usually suppressed and, given more anger back, I suppose. We need to acknowledge all their feelings. So if they're feeling sad, even over the smallest things, even if we think they're pretending, we need to acknowledge it, we need to face it, and we need to allow them to go through it. Our job is just to be a secure rock for them to feel safe, to portray their feelings, to let them go through their feelings. If a child is feeling sad, they're looking for a parent to be sad in front of. Give them that safety of being stable and allowing them to feel all their emotions. This in turn means they have the opportunity to grow up into emotionally mature adults that are in touch with how they feel about things. They won't suppress things when they're scared. They won't suppress things when they're sad. They won't suppress things when they're angry or confused. They'll be able to talk about it. They'll be able to feel it, and they'll be able to react to it. This is not something that psychiatrists or psychologists want you to hear, because this is the majority of their fucking job. It's getting people in touch with how they feel. We can bypass all that bollocks by allowing our children to be emotional, no matter how trivial it looks to you. Trust that they feel it. Just to add to this one, because this is probably one of the most important points, I just want to say, parents, stop being afraid of children that are crying. There is nothing wrong with a crying child. The fear that you feel when a child is crying is more than likely your projection of the fear. It is your child inside that is upset by it. It is your fear. It is the child that you were once that wasn't allowed to cry. Children crying is not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't try and cut their crying short. Allow them to be sad. Allow them to cry. Let them play it out. What a gift. Number 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. I'll make this one quick. Let's use Timmy as an example. Timmy is playing with his favorite truck, and then Susie comes and wants to play with Timmy's truck. Timmy's parents then go, Timmy, be nice and let Susie play with your truck. Timmy doesn't want this to happen. It's Timmy's favorite truck, but he is forced to share. Imagine you went to Tom in the office and go, oi mate, Karen she needs to borrow your car this weekend. Give her the keys. Can you imagine Tom's reaction when you tell him he's got to go share his fucking car with Karen? You might say it's not the same thing, but it is exactly the same thing. Think about it. Don't do it. It's bullshit. It completely disrespects your child's autonomy to tell them to share their things when they're at an age when they don't want to. Again, model the behavior. Share your things with your child when they want to take something off you, and they will learn that sharing is okay. Equally, right? If you have something that you don't want to share because of one reason or another, you cannot share it with your child. This is not about giving everything to your children. There are natural boundaries that every human being has with themselves. Whenever I'm eating, if Bella comes over and she wants to have some, I don't take the food away from her and go, no, this is mine. I let her have some. And if she was to try and eat the whole thing, I would be like, do you want your own? Because this is mine and I'm going to eat this now. So I show her that I'm more than willing to share, but I'm not going to give it all because this is something that I'm doing right now. But I can offer her an alternative. I would like to think that she grows up to do the same. She's happy to share her stuff, but when she's got something which is really she wants to keep for herself, she's more than happy to go, no. I will not be telling my children, oh, go give Auntie Susie Q a kiss and a hug, or go give Grandpa blah, blah, blah a hug. I will not be forcing my children to give affection to other people. This sounds harsh, but the thing is, I want her to do it from her place. If she wants to give them a hug, if she wants to say goodbye, she can. I can give her the opportunity and say, would you like to say goodbye? Would you like to give them a hug? And if she says no, that's it. That's her autonomy right there. And that's fine. By forcing a child to go do something that they didn't want to do, this is a people-pleasing issue again. Adults, don't feel embarrassed if your child doesn't want to hug a family member. That is a great thing. That's their autonomy, and they don't feel comfortable. Respect that. Fucking hell, I mean, this shit's obvious, isn't it? Okay, this is just a little brief one. I've heard it a lot in the playground where parents will tell their child to be kind. Can we stop telling our children what to be and just allow them to be themselves? Model being kind, and trust me, they will be. You will never be able to force a child to be a way that you think they should be if you yourself are not doing it, and two, you're forcing them to do it. Because no human being likes being forced to do stuff against their fucking will. Last one, I think. This one cuts quite close to the heart. Stop being difficult, or why are you being so difficult? This is often something that is said by a parent who has lost their shit and has lost their composure, but to be told, why are you being so difficult? What's wrong with you? Why are you being so difficult? You're so difficult today. You are, first of all, labeling your child as being difficult, which they may then grow to try and fulfill on a subconscious level. But also, why the fuck are we looking at this from the perspective of the adult, and why are we not looking at it at the perspective of the child? The question shouldn't be, why are you being so difficult? The question should be, how can I help? What is wrong? Is there anything I can do? Stop shaming your fucking children. Shaming your children is just going to fuck up the child-parent dynamic. And trust me, these children, if they've been shamed, by the time they get to their teens, they're going to fucking run a mile from you. Why are you being so difficult is an indication that there's a breakdown in communication, but also that you're just not thinking anymore. No child is choosing to act in a way that vexes you. When a child is having a meltdown, if the reaction from the parent is to get angry, all the child is learning is that every time they get upset and they desperately need that safety, the parent's going to react in an even worse way. This absolutely causes trauma for the child. And later on in life, the child will have to contend with this trauma in every situation that they find causes a bit of internal conflict. Whenever they find something difficult or upsetting, or they get angry or sad, if when they were a child, they got, why are you being so difficult? Why are you crying now? Stop it. Go to your room. If these are the reactions that your child is receiving every time they get sad or angry or being difficult, their wiring is going to be all over the fucking place and they will be traumatized. Trauma is a strong word, and it's a fucking strong feeling. Look at yourself as an adult, and how do you react to people when they're angry or upset with you? It's usually you feel adrenaline, usually you feel reactive, usually you feel you're dissociating, you go into your cave. Very rarely do we react from a calm presence of, oh, that person's angry with me. Right. Well, first of all, that's clearly something that we're going to have to face and talk about. But the fact that they're angry, it's a them thing. They're angry. It's not me. I don't need to feel emotionally connected to their anger. It's a fucking gift to give that to your children. But as a generation that have been raised by reactive parents, we are quite literally passing on the generational trauma. So that shit's got to stop. Thank you for listening to this very light-hearted video on Heywood and stuff. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be doing more about respectful conscious parenting to the best I can. It's taken me a long time to do a video like this because it's fucking important and I didn't want to fuck it up. I'm sure it's not going to be massively popular and I couldn't care less. But thank you for watching. Cheers.